Show away the Irish. Show away the Irish. Show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison. I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing. Doing a damn thing. The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. No Irish. No Irish. No Irish. No Irish. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're inside 3 weeks. What do we got? Is it 19 days? Something like that? 19, 20 days. We are officially inside 3 weeks until Notre Dame football starts. I got to tell you guys, it's just such an important big year. There's just no way around it. I have been trying to separate myself out a little bit from the emotion, separate myself out from my natural delivery mode, which is intense. Everything I do, whether it's goofy or fun or happy or mad or whatever, there's an intensity to the way I deliver this content. And I just, even when I try and separate it, there's just no way around it. This is just such a big, important year and moment for Freeman, for the program, just perceptually for the fan base who's so on edge. The fan base is just so on edge with everything going on. Like, it's just a big year. And there's only one way to put it all to rest. There's only one way to prove you're still on the right track. There's only one way to prove that this thing is going in the right direction. And you got to go win football games. And you got to win a lot of football games. And you got to win the first football game. I seriously sit there and I'm like, am I overdoing what this moment is? I'm not. It's such a big moment. Somebody said, tonight's the night that Deuce is going to officially be gone. Yeah, I've been hearing that for over a week. I was assured by all my sources Tuesday was going to be the day last week. And I know everybody was waiting. Oh, when's it going to happen? Oh, I got a mad article I'm going to hit print on and then yell on the internet about, oh, wait, it was supposed to be last Tuesday. And then that didn't happen. Then it was going to be any day now, blah, blah, blah. And then that didn't happen. So getting worn out on it. Getting worn out on that whole thing. You just kind of want it to go one way or the other so everybody can move on with their lives and adjust to their new reality. And Auburn's got a deadline, this and that for all this money, and they got a flip bonus in this. I'll give you a flip bonus first thing in the morning, and it ain't going to be money. The flip bonus I'm giving Auburn. Anyways. Unbelievable. Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. What is this? What's wrong with you, Dr. John? Come on. What's wrong with Dr. John? He's falling apart. Morning, John. Surgery on my thumb in a couple hours. Could swing my handicap 2 strokes. Either way, yes. It depends which way they're bending that thumb. If it helps your grip or it hurts your grip. It might keep you held onto the club the right way, or it could make it so you'll never hold onto the club the right way again. Oh, man. Anyways, I certainly hope that goes smoothly. That doesn't sound like an enjoyable start to the week. Notre Dame wine and cheese, $2 holler. John, you definitely watch the Cubs and the Sox. Don't lie. You know how how I know things are going bad for John and his sports life in Chicago? It takes a lot to take all of the venom and genuine animosity out of the Sox Cubs when they play the crosstown. I got no juice. I have no juice this year for that matchup. Either way, the Cubs have been bad. They're starting to win some games. Well, yeah, who doesn't when you play the Sox? They've been bad in the cellar all year, like not even – they were supposed to be decent, and they been in last place half the summer. The Sox are garbage. Like, bro, there's no – And it's like, do you want the Sox? I always want to beat the Cubs, but does it matter? I want Sox to be as bad as possible. They change managers. It doesn't matter. Like, you got to really go. You have to really try to make me and a lot of people that care about baseball not care about that series. And you did it. You reached it. It just doesn't matter. I just can't. It just doesn't matter. We're so far past proving points or having debate arguments and we're better than you. Who cares? You're both no good. It's sickening. It's sickening. 818, you're going to be the first up. Rodney, call-in lines are open. Hit me up. We could do anything you want. We got some recruiting stuff we need to talk about here. But you want to talk about camp, you want to talk about A&M. I'm starting to wonder if people are getting a feeling they're starting to zone in on like some predictions for the ball game. I want to know if you're feeling some of that. I want to know, Johnny 2-star, you're hurting my feelings. Johnny 2-star, that's awful. That must mean I did bad on the night show. I lost a star. Usually I'm Johnny 3-star. I didn't even get my third. That's tough. Good morning, John and the Irish from Houston. It's good to see you. The Sly Fox is always here. Steven's always here. Oh, boy. Here come the Yankees tomorrow night, Johnny. Hey, whatever. I think the Sox got to win like 15 of their remaining games to avoid being like the worst team of all time or whatever. I sincerely hope they don't reach that mark. I want them to be on the record books for how awful they are. And I want that to carry all the people around for the rest of their lives. It's totally unacceptable. You know what the White Sox people are doing now? Rather than worry about why they're so horrible at baseball and their organization is so backwards with everything they do, they're too busy chasing people out of the stadium that have signs that say sell the team. That was the big thing over the weekend. It had nothing to do with the baseball. It had to do with their security chasing down people, holding up sell the team signs and kicking them out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Johnny, try and walk on if we lose week one. Could you imagine the call-in show here if we lose week one? Rodney, I'm coming to you first. Could you imagine, just imagine for a moment, if you will, what that call-in show is going to be like if for some reason Notre Dame does not emerge victoriously in that ball game? I don't even want to think about it, man. I don't even want to think about it. Adam with the $5 holler. John, have you thought about if Freeman doesn't handle this backup QB right? It's possible two of them enter the portal. Unlikely, but possible. Oh, Adam. I've thought about this a lot. And especially if you're in a situation where you are uncertain whether you're going to have, hey, Brandon, good to see you down there in Atlanta. Especially if you're in a situation where you don't know what's going to happen with your 25 quarterback. If you were to lose Deuce, and I don't know where they pivot to if they lose Deuce, if it's an RKG or what they try and sell you if they do lose Deuce. That's where this gets real. I've been writing and talking about this. I don't know if people don't want to hear it or they're not ready to hear it, or if they're believing in the wrong things. I'm not sure what the reality is. You better be very, very careful, Adam. You're onto something. You may end up in a spot where, Eric, it's good to see you. Come on back whenever. You may end up in a spot where you thought you were building quarterback depth and you actually end up thin at quarterback. It would be the most Notre Dame thing ever to work this hard to try and build up this high quality depth in that room. You send the wrong message to Carr and Minchie by propping up Angeli, who has the least, save it, you guys. He has the least physical upside of anyone in that group, and I'm just sure of it. You can be in love with the one cross his body throw he threw against Pitt when we were winning by 80 and a real team pick sixes it the other way. You can love that all you want. I'm telling you, he's the least physically gifted guy of the whole group. So if you run with that and you push that and that's the message you send, and he's got the early inside track for whatever backup and starting next year, whatever, you're sending a weird message to those other two guys. And then if you don't get Deuce and you piss off one or both of those other two guys and one or both of them leaves, you just went from a position of fixing your biggest problem in the program, which was quarterback depth and high-level ability, right back to where you started. Right back to where you started. I'm just telling you, Angeli's he's a excellent backup. But I do not believe he is the future quarterback at Notre Dame. And if he is, it's RKG all over again, you guys. I understand you like what you've seen so far of him doing cleanup and in the bowl game or whatever, but it's not moving the needle on the high end. You're not beating Ohio State and Georgia and Alabama with Angeli. You're just not. You're just not. You're not beating those high-level teams with Angeli, okay? And it's a one read and a check down type thing. They're telling them, get more aggressive and feel free to throw the ball in camp like they're pushing that. That's not moving the needle. And the whole thing since Freeman got here was, how do we get quarterback play that's going to move the needle? It's a one read thing and a dump down and whatever. It's game manager plus. Notre Dame's not winning. You are out of your mind insane if you think Angeli's running Notre Dame to win 4 playoff games for a national championship. You're absolutely delusional. It's never going to happen. It's just not physically possible. It ain't going to happen. You need a plus quarterback skill set. I love Angeli's loyalty to Notre Dame. He's been in the program. He's done a really, really darn good job when he's been in there. That's the other thing. I'm not saying he's horrible. He's done a really, really good job when he's in there. He ain't winning he's not beating the best teams on your schedule. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So I don't know. Riley Leonard for sure isn't it either. At least he's a dual threat. Like, you could think that for whatever reason you think that. At least that's a guy you could do both and run more naturally. Like, Angeli can do it, but he's not as good at it as Riley Leonard. That's the thing. If you're like, you don't have to, if you don't fully believe in Riley Leonard's like passing ability or something like that, like, I don't know how you measure the dual threat factor in this. That matters to me. I just feel like Riley Leonard's going to open up everything just by the fact that he forces a defense to have to prepare for a run and a pass on every play. And what is that worth? It's worth a lot to me. You're forcing a defense to freeze on every single thing you do when you have a guy that's known to be a runner. Like, I see a lot of value in that. I just see a lot of value in that. And he covers a lot of ground when he does run with that big body. 2 strides at 6'4", 6'5", whatever that is. That's a long way. That's a lot of ground to cover. And so yeah, Eric brings up a really good point. Anybody think of this too? You may need a guy that scrambles very well if you're going to have an O-line that you're not quite sure how long it's going to take them to round into form and all that. And again, I know some of you in the chats have been thinking about this. Rodney, I'm going to come to you. Anybody else wants to hit up the phone lines, 312-900-8815. We could take it wherever you want. 19 days to kick off. What you think about Notre Dame, A&M? They had a big injury. Ruben Owens, running back, out. Lower body, seemed like an ACL, something like that. What was he, their number 2 guy in a little rotation they had or something? I don't believe he was their frontline guy, but one of their key guys in the rotation and in the mix. So if you wanted to say, hey, Notre Dame's got this big injury, where does it balance back out? I guess they got one there, if you want to look at it that way. It is something else I've been thinking about is, how do you protect or insulate Notre Dame's offense and Riley Leonard from a O-line that you're not quite sure what you're going to get against A&M? I think one of it would be, do you scheme some stuff to the other side of the line? You cannot overdo that. And I'm not acting like I'm an X's and O's expert here. You know I'm not. I don't ever act like I am. Do you scheme some stuff to try and go more up the middle and to the right side of the line to be able to divert some of that attention and worry that's on the left side? Screen passes, quick hitters, get the ball out quick to Love, give him one block, and you're going to love the results. How about the price is right if you do the same thing with him? All you got to do is throw a short pass, get one block for those guys, and something good's going to happen. Right? Move that pocket, do a whatever you want to call it, a boot action, whatever you're going to do, run, pass, option, whatever. There's a lot of different things you can scheme up here. And then the other thing is, man, he's good on his feet. If he feels that pressure from behind, he could step up in the pocket. He could move a little bit and bail you out. I just don't know what you're going to get. I don't know what you're going to get. And then here's the last thing you could do, and no one likes talking about this because it's boring and lame, and no one really likes it. Oh, give me a wheel route. Give me that wheel route. We got a couple phone calls here we're going to get to in a second. Eric with the $20 wait, I didn't finish. You could always do a little chip action. And I know nobody likes that. And I know that's not exciting. And I know you want a bunch of people out there to catch passes and do whatever. You may just have to keep a running back or a tight end near that left side so you can chip anywhere near the guard and the tackle on the left side. You just might have to. SPF is saying John's always doing this to himself. Riley Leonard is a mid-special deluxe with a bum ankle. Listen, SPF, son of a SPF. Look at this. Yeah, on the bingo card. Yells at Commander, Kent, Andrew, or SPF. Well, here we go. Grandma got a bingo at the VFW early on this one. Here's the deal. At least he's a dual threat, kind of. As long as that ankle plate or screw or bolt or whatever they did to Frankenstein, whatever they did to him, at least he's kind of mobile. That is a big difference to me compared to like the Hartman thing. Hartman was kind of small. I was standing there at the NIL event, pumping him up, pumping the money into his pockets and not my own. He ain't that big of a dude. I like that this dude is big. Yeah, Cone was a dual threat. Standing up and laying down. Those were the two options. Literally, Cone was like the Statue of Liberty, bro. I'm telling you, man. They literally poured cement into Cone's shoes and were like, go play football right now, bro. They literally lead weights. The other team came in and they dumped a Stone Cold Steve Austin. They backed the cement truck into the building and they dumped it into his shoes and then they said, go run. That's literally what they did. Remember when Stone Cold dumped that cement in that white Corvette in the convertible that was supposed to be McMahon's? I think that's what they did to Cone's shoes. And they just dumped all the concrete in there. And then he couldn't even run. But give me a break. At least Leonard could do that more than Hartman, small and wasn't a natural runner and whatever. At least this guy gives me a little more. In that regard. $20 from my Michigan lawyer. My fear is that the NDO line will be the O-line Jack Cone had it in 21. Terrible. Remember that opener against Florida State. Terrible. You got to account for everything, man. Here's what I'm thinking. If you're Mikey Denbrock, third time around the block, if you're Mikey Denbrock, you got to be able to think through all of these scenarios. Do you not? Phones, I'm coming to you. I'm sorry, I'm getting there. Both you guys are coming up. If you're Mike Denbrock, don't you have to plan for all of this? Don't you need to plan for, if I can run what I want to run, which means that the offensive line holds up, then you have a play chart of here's what I want to run. If we could block it up in an ideal world, here's what I want to do. Then don't you have to have like a play card in your mind for like, if this kind of goes bad, but not horrible, but kind of is iffy. Here's the play sheet. If it gets kind of iffy, here's what I want to do. And I'm going to be blocking over here, whatever. Hey, Jared, I like your country club idea. I didn't know you had it locked down like that. I'm thinking about it next year as well. We'll see what happens. But I like that country club. I don't have the patience for the public playing golf anymore. They take too much time and they don't know how to act out there. I think the private club's the way to go from now on for Johnny, Jared. Good idea. We'll get out there to the country club. I just think Denbrock's got to be ready for everything. Got to be ready for everything. And you got to have a plan. Okay, this is going horribly. We're not even touching the guys coming off the left side. We need to adjust quick. Nothing could be a surprise to Denbrock, man. When you have 30 years of experience or whatever you're doing, and this is your third time here and whatever, I need you to be able to layer your plans. Layer your plans. Okay. And be able to account for anything that comes up. John only wants to play private courses. That's so wine and cheese. I'm sorry, Jay Carr. It's getting to be one of the only things I don't have the patience for. And it never used to be like that. In the old days, John Q. Public used to come over and play golf, and they knew how to act. They weren't driving all over the green on their cart, being like drunk idiots, yelling, fighting, blasting music, being like not replacing their divot, not replacing their ball mark on the green, driving all over everything. That didn't used to be a thing 15 years ago. Even the public knew how to go to a golf course and act like you belong on a golf course. Now it's worse than ever. It is one. I want to gatekeep golf all over again. I know when Tiger was doing his thing, they wanted to bring more people in the game and open it all up. I'm going to go the other way. We need to start gatekeeping the game. You know why? Lack of respect. People just don't know how to act. It's not me acting too good for everyone. These people don't know how to act on a golf course. Bad behavior left and right. No manners, no decorum, don't know how to act, no respect for the property or the course, other golfers. It's bad. It's really, really bad. People do not know how to act on a golf course anymore. And I just don't have the patience. Slow golf is horrible golf. Golf does not take 5 hours to play. Let's go. Get it and hit it. Did I see Hartman got hurt last night? I didn't see he got hurt. What? Filming The Bachelor? What? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just can't. The Hartman thing it's rough. It's very, very rough. And you know what you found out about Hartman? He is what they thought he was. And he is what Goolsby said he was. And everybody crapped on Goolsby for being so negative about him when we got him. And Goolsby said, this isn't going to change anything. He's mid. And sure enough, he was mid. And then every time you needed him to really step up, put the team on his shoulders and win the biggest games on the schedule, you didn't, and you lost 3. So give me a break. I'm done with it. Good looking kid, good hair, really nice thighs. He was showing off in them short shorts at the NIL event. Peace out, brother. Get a Just for Men endorsement deal. You'll never have to work again. What are you talking about? He lit it up. Yeah, he lit it up against Navy. Where was the lighting of the up against Ohio State? He did. He had short shorts on, showing off them thighs, Steven. I'm serious. I remember it. He got out of that thing. He was fishing poles in the back, and he walked up there. He had them short athletic shorts on. Ooh, showing off them thighs. Had all the wives in the parking lot ready to leave their husbands. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I'm just saying, the golf thing it's bad. People have no decorum anymore. They don't know how to act. They have no respect for the course or how the manners on a golf course. It's lost at one of these public courses where everybody just wants to drink 90 beers and drive over everything and not replace their divot or their ball mark and be loud and be rude, not let people play through when you're playing slow, all of it. I hate all of it. I have no patience for any of that. That's not golf. It's not. All right, phone calls are long. Got to get to them. Real question. If Hartman was with Denbrock, what was the record in 23? What would it have been? I would like to think it would be better, but there's a certain amount of like Hartman's limited that even Denbrock can't take out of Hartman because he's limited, right? But there's a certain part of it where like a guy's physically limited and mentally limited of what he's going to be able to do, even in that many years, 5 or 6 years, however long he was in the game. Brian says, I live that every day, golf management. Dude, 10 years working in a pro shop all through high school and college for my summer job. It was not that bad. At a semi-private course is where I worked. You could have memberships and have certain privileges, and then they had public. You could come play at certain times too. You didn't have those issues. Even the public that went out there, they knew how to dress, they knew how to speak, they knew how to act, and they were acting respectful. You don't have it now, man. I see it every day. These people acting up on the course. I have no patience for it. So I think a private club's the only way to ensure that doesn't happen. Costs you more money, but at least you could get in there and play in under 3 hours and get in and get out and get your work in. And you're not going to have a million idiots out there. All right. Yeah, it's not just golf. Basic decorum is gone. I have a theory about this. Ever since we emerged out of the lockdown, people don't know how to act. I think they had a couple years all locked in their own world with their own people, losing their mind, and everybody forgot how to act in society. They let everybody back out in the wild, and it's like nobody knows how to act. I swear I feel that big difference where people lost their social interaction skills when we did the lockdown or whatever, for however long it was for where you live. And then they let everybody out. Nobody knows how to act. There's no morals. There's no decorum. There's no decorum. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. All right, Rodney, you're coming up. Here's the first. Okay, I got to bring this up. And then Rodney's coming up. And then there's a few other callers. You're all coming up. Here's something I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the difference between see, you're not wrong. General golf etiquette's gone since I don't understand what happened. Everybody forgot how to act and they just think it's a free-for-all now. Really rubs me the wrong way. Golf used to be one of the last bastions of proper social decorum in honoring and doing the right thing, and now it's going away. I just can't understand it. I don't get it. It's a bad reflection on society as a whole. Here's what we need to talk about. In the Notre Dame fan base, and then I'm going to the callers. I just want to throw this line in the water, and then we'll go to the callers. So Notre Dame fans are really wound tight. Pat went to the Waste Management a couple years ago, and Pat likes to party and whatever. And Pat was like, John, it was to the point where it would rub you the wrong way, and you would say, it's just not, this isn't golf. But Pat did do that a couple years ago. Him and his brothers went, and he said it was out of control to the point where it was like, John, it would rub you the wrong way as a golf traditionalist, what was going on there. And I believe he's probably right. Here's what I want to bring up. Then we'll go to the calls. I feel like the Notre Dame fans are really worked up about the recruiting and where the recruiting's going and if it's good enough and what's going to happen with the top end of these classes. And is this what you thought you were going to get out of Freeman's recruiting, which is supposed to be one of the plus points for Freeman and getting the job and all that? Okay. Then when you look at the national narrative on Notre Dame's recruiting, it's very different. Did you see the big ESPN article? They did a big expose article, this long form article about how much Freeman's changed the recruiting operation at Notre Dame, nuts and bolts on the front end, on the back end. All the different ways they changed the recruiting and upgraded and made everything more modern and what they're trying to do. And this was a big article, well-researched and thought out, put together, a big article there, all about how they changed that recruiting situation at Notre Dame. Then, now that I'm in the Sports Illustrated ecosystem, I have some people that work there that see what I write, more like a couple levels above me and Nick that check on the website and the articles you're writing to make sure you're formulating things the right way and doing what you need to do. And some of those guys have reached out to me like, John, don't you guys need to relax? Notre Dame's recruiting's better than I remember it being. It seems to be pretty good, like around the top 10. What do you expect for Notre Dame? They're doing a pretty good job. Why don't you lighten up a little bit on your articles? So I just feel like we're in this weird spot where the Notre Dame fans are having this existential anxiety about where the Freeman recruiting operation is at. But then when you take that and you zoom out and you look at it from that national perspective, you got people writing, they've changed the whole thing and it's all better and it's trending in the right direction with no doubt. And I got people in the SI network that are saying, John, well, I don't know what you guys expect. They're doing pretty good for Notre Dame. What do you want him to do? Like, why don't you, why are you guys being so hard on him? So I just find that really, really interesting to kind of see the difference inside this fan base and some of the media compared to that outside perspective where they're giving Notre Dame's recruiting a lot of respect. So I don't know if that is us really getting in the weeds, like not at a surface level, but really digging deep and having a total understanding of the guys we're losing and the way that things get close to all coming together and then kind of falling back apart a little bit. And the loss of momentum when some certain guys leave your class late or whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I just find it really, really interesting. And the love for Chad and the love for, everybody involved in that recruiting thing, it just seems to be a very, very big difference. But depending on where you look, if it's Rivals 247 or whatever, I don't think I need Notre Dame to be inside the top 10 when it all finishes, to feel like you're on that you're really getting that extra kicker out of the Freeman and all the guys and whatever. It can't be mid-teens anymore. That's not what you wanted. That's not what this was supposed to be. You had a lot of that under Kelly. That's not what we're looking for, is mid-teens where you're finished. National guy could tell me to feel better about it all he wants. That's not where we all wanted this to be. So then I don't know what you do. Go in there and have a really good season. Go in there and have a really, really good season. Make the playoff, win a couple games, and then you ramp that up, get in the top 10, get this thing squarely back between the lines again. Is that what you do? But I just find that very, very interesting. I've read a lot of glowing articles about that the last couple of days. Very interesting to see the dichotomy there. Good morning, John Homer, TD, $5 holler. The public courses are like the Players' Championship, and private courses are like the Masters. Where would you rather play? I'm telling you, there's just not that behavior, man. That respect for the golf course, the sanctity of a golf course. I just don't see it from the public, man. Driving all over. It's just about drinking and listening to music, not golfing. Get out of my way. I want to golf. You can drink and listen to music doing a lot of things. Get off the golf course. Get off. Jeez. All right. We got to get to these calls. Rodney, what's going on? And then I got a 618-407 are going to be the next two up. Rodney, good morning. Thank you for your patience, sir.
Hello, Newman.
Hey, I do like your Halloween logo on your moniker on YouTube. It's a little early for Halloween, but I'm always going to like that. I like the respect to that. That was very nice. I like it.
John, I have one tattoo on my body, one, and it's on my upper left. I think I showed it to you on my upper left thigh, and it is that. It is the Halloween movie logo.
Wait a second.
And so
no. I have never seen that. I would remember if I saw something on your thigh, Rodney. That has never happened, but I feel like that's something I would remember. You're going to have to show that baby off at the next tailgate. I want to see it.
I realize that kind of toes the line on appropriate versus inappropriate, but it really is appropriate. It's nothing. It's not. I mean, it's like literally you'll see it when I'm wearing shorts that you can barely see the knife coming. Yeah, but yeah, man, it's that is the logo for that. Man, I'm telling you, John, this morning you just gave me two great topics to talk about because I'm like, I just want to talk football and by extension the Always Irish Show, and by extension, John Kennedy, your family.
Look at this, Rodney. Wait. Look at this. Somebody's writing, what's up with John looking at guys' thighs lately? Because I mentioned that with Hartman at the NIL event.
Right, the Sam Hartman reference.
So now we're two times. Now John's getting into it. I'm going to start trying out for the Texas A&M male cheerleading squad here. I'm getting a little weird with it.
John,
now it's two of them.
For the tailgate, John, I'm bringing chicken thighs. It has to happen. I bring chicken thighs.
Oh man, tailgate. I'm sorry, but I do remember about Hartman. I just remember his outfit, and those shorts were really short. But again, if I was good, I would rock them too. And then you brought this up, so I'm 0 for 2 on the thighs here. Let's change. So funny, let's change the subject.
Yeah, let's change it, man. But you know what? This is so good that you started with this, because I'm like, John, what will inevitably happen is John will talk about something in the pre-show, the half hour leading up to callers getting on or whatever, the 40 minutes to sometimes hour pre-show.
Nice dig. Nice little dig. Keep it moving.
No.
Yeah.
I say that with love. It's kind of a backhanded compliment, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, you gave me two, man. Great freaking topics, John. First of all, let's start with recruiting, okay? Because that's kind of where I think I was going to go anyway to begin the show. But okay, I kind of mentioned this last week, and you just said it, and I want to go further with it. Okay, this is what the perception is from the outside, and why I think it's hard for our minds to kind of, because of what we see on the surface versus what's really going on behind the numbers. Let's go right to that. Top 10 classes. You just mentioned that. John, for the last few years, I've thought what Notre Dame has to do to get into this mix, they just have to consistently be in that top 7 to 10 range. They have, because I think that the possibilities of getting them in the top 3, I'm not saying it can't happen. I think a national title run where they get to the game and don't look great in the game even if they don't win it, or get to the final playoffs and they lose a close playoff game where you can tell Notre Dame is there. Whatever that is, that perception needs to go up there to the rest of the country. And I think Notre Dame jumps a couple 3 spots in those regular 3 to 5, that 7 to 10 range to possibly 3 to 5 range, with that, I think everybody wants to see. Nevertheless, a top 10 finish in this day and age of college football, I believe, is much different than a top 10 finish was just a few years ago, where I think 3 to 4 teams were I would even say maybe 3, Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia, and then Clemson at one point had developed their talent a little better than Notre Dame did, even though they weren't necessarily in quite that same elite category. Florida State did it for a few years here recently. That type of sphere. Now what you're seeing is number 1 to number, I'd say 11 or 12. There's not a big difference between who finishes number 1 and who finishes, not as big of a difference. Okay. It's a little more parity. What I think the key is, and you were talking about a lot a couple of years ago, especially, and last year too, that blue chip hit rate. Okay. That is what has changed. That's what's obvious. Yeah. The numbers are going to be not as drastically better than the Kelly era, even though, the couple spots higher. Oh, why is it not so? No. That's because college football recruiting has changed drastically because of the NIL, the transfer portal, college football players being able to accumulate value, money off their image, name, image, likeness, and goes beyond that. That has changed the parity of recruiting. You know what I'm saying? So that being in the top 10 is crucial for Notre Dame and proves that, yes, we have the fact that we're complaining about a Deuce Knight. By the way, I had heard on the radio, I literally heard decommitted on the radio several days ago. So it's very interesting that maybe he's having cold feet about that. You know what, though? I don't want to jump subjects. I want to stick on this point. But if he is, I've already deconnected myself to that whole situation. I just expect it. John, focusing back on all that, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
On that whole...
I get what you're saying. There's a little more parity at the top. Like the gaps between those top level teams don't seem to be exactly what they were before. And now you're getting more teams that didn't used to have a shot to land some of these guys, maybe because of NIL or what they're offering. So some of that talent spreading out a little bit. I think, Rodney, here's the thing that really hurts. You can't lose the top guys out of your classes and expect the fan base to feel good about your classes. That is a big problem, and it's a practical and perceptual one that Notre Dame fans are going through now almost every year. There's just no way. There's no way to make a fan base feel great about a class when the top guys in it you're losing after you've had their commitment for months. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to convince. You're not going to convince people to be positive about that. There's no way to do it.
John,
there's no way to do it.
What it is, and it does feel like really shitty luck. I'm just going to say it. It just feels like crappy luck. Like we should have. it's weird that it's always those 5-star guys. And of course it's going to be them more than it's going to be other guys because they get all the attention. They get all the people coming out. But it is a little weird that that's happened. And I just kind of think that's just one of those things. And I really, truly believe this in my heart. And I think you do too. Not that there can't be anything that the Freeman staff could do that's not better. Of course there can. But I think we both know that they're going to do that. Like, if they make a mistake, they're going to fix it. Okay, I think we both know that. I think part of this, John, is something we're just very frustrated about. And I will even say, while I've always thought and that the Notre Dame administration is behind the times and needs to catch up, I think they have caught up. The problem is, John, is that college football, as of right now, has gotten really corrupt. It was not always kind of that way.
Yeah.
Well, it's gotten even more so. It is wildly out of hand right now. I mean, my God, the NFL has more rules about pay and whatnot, and wealth accumulation, and
again, Rodney,
they got this figured out.
Here's already, just from us having this discussion, there's multiple people in the chat saying, and none of it's Freeman's fault. Freeman's the sacred cow. Not blame everybody. You're blaming everybody but Freeman. Listen, if it isn't where any of us want it to be, Freeman's got to figure out a way to navigate through that and make it better. I don't know what people want me to say.
Here's
I don't,
the answer to
but
that,
I don't
John.
know. I don't know. I'm telling everybody on the field, Freeman's got to get better. And then you got to figure out this recruiting thing. He is the head guy. You need to figure it out. That responsibility ultimately falls at his feet and his desk. I don't know what people want me to say other than that. What do you want me to say? Fire him today because you're frustrated with recruiting? That's not realistic. I don't know what people want me to say other than on the field, Freeman needs to tighten it up, and you need to figure out what is turning against you with this recruiting thing and be able to fix it. I don't know what else people want me to say. That's ultimately falls on Freeman. He's the head man. But that's not good enough. Yeah. I don't know what these people want me to say. Fire him today? Is that what you people want?
I know.
What do you want me to say to that? Other than you got to figure out a way to navigate it and make it better. I don't know what else you want me to say. Welcome to Monday.
What did I say? Monday. What was my little YouTube comment today? Something about Monday morning quarterbacks or whatever. Here we go. John, you just said it in this last diatribe you had. You just said it. This is like threading the needle from recruiting, the balance of recruiting to on the field, right? On the field results. What Freeman's done, and we're going to see now if it plays out. He's like, okay, and looking at you know what? Let's just take away our, hate Michigan hats and all that and just call it spade a spade. You know the difference between Jim Harbaugh is and Brian Kelly? I'll tell you why Jim Harbaugh is a great coach and Brian Kelly, it was just very good. Other than this one thing, they're the same. Jim Harbaugh doesn't care what people think of him. Brian Kelly cared too much about what people thought.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And another acceptable answer.
That's absolutely what it is. Other than that, Brian Kelly's as good as Jim Harbaugh, but he can't get out of his own way. And Harbaugh's literally the opposite. He just doesn't give it.
I was going to say another clear difference is one of them I see on the golf course way more than the other. And I don't know how much effect that has, but one of them likes to golf way more than the other one. It's really a good point.
And there's the politician, man. There's the politician. There's way too much people. I got to be on the smoothie guys.
But listen, I want to be fair, Rodney. I want to be fair. That's a really good recruiting class LSU's got going right now. Really good recruiting class. But again, that doesn't all fall on Kelly. LSU half recruits itself. Weekend at Bernie's can recruit a top 10 class at LSU. It literally recruits itself. Right now, Weekend at Bernie's. You give me the arm thing, Weekend at Bernie. He could recruit a top 10 class to LSU. Good job, though. It's a good class. I got to give him credit. When you're the head man, you get the credit. Good job.
Kelly did the right thing.
Yes,
for him. And it made sense. He left Notre Dame. And you know what? Notre Dame did the right thing. It worked out best. He was there. John, no Notre Dame coach has ever had longer tenure at Notre Dame. I mean, to be fair to the guy, if you take away the part of Kelly's personality, he wasn't always bad, dude. He was funny sometimes. He was charming. There were times where I actually liked him in press conferences.
Yeah.
I thought he worked on a lot more things about himself than people realize. It's just that when he stepped when he put his foot in his mouth, it came across extremely smug and egotistical.
Yeah.
So I think that's what rubs people the wrong way. But give the guy credit, man. He handed Freeman a 54-win team over 5 years. And by the way, I think Freeman's done a very good job. I can't say great because we haven't reached that next level, but to this point, a very good job as a first-time head coach. But what I'm trying to get at, Harbaugh, his classes, they weren't anything spectacular. 10 to 15, I think, 10 to 17, whatever it was. But he found a way to get the most out of his players. He's a really, really good coach. I think Freeman's doing better than that. Okay. And also he's understanding it's got to be on the field. What's he do? He goes out and he gets Al Golden, one of the most respected, football minds in the country. He goes out and gets Mike Denbrock, one of the most respected football minds in the country. Seems to have now put together a staff that's a little bit less about just going out and getting the players, Chancey Stuckey, and more about the development of that room, Mike Brown. And it does look like, man, I'm hearing things that there's arguments to be made that the wide receiver room may be the as good as any room on the team, other than maybe defensive line. I mean, I'm just saying we haven't seen it on the field, John. That's fair. We're about to see if that has worked out. But just on paper with what they brought in and what we're seeing in early practices for the fall, wow. When did you think you'd say that? And so it was also, and then I'm going to cap it off with this, John, and we can go back and forth and you can go to the next caller. Okay, so how now does this impact recruiting going forward? I think the transfer portal, Notre Dame is really obviously, with the 3 wide receivers in the transfer portal, they obviously have made a major step forward in what they're willing to bring in. I think there's less stress now. And even the Sam Hartman thing didn't work out the way we wanted it, but that was still the right guy to get. I honestly think a better offensive coordinator, I think Mike Denbrock last year gets a lot more out of Sam Hartman. I really do. And Sam Hartman's looked on pretty good by Notre Dame people, I think, if that happens. So we're going to see how it plays out. But I think assuming it does, assuming this is a really good team with one major weakness, and I think it's the health of the offensive line. I think they're going to get better and better as the year goes on. And I think Denbrock's really smart enough to figure out how to scheme around that.
Yeah.
Will they stay healthy, John? That's my worry. I'm really worried about that. But putting a cap on all this, the program is headed in the direction on paper with the guy that we have where it needs to go. We got to stay in that top 10. I just think that's important. I don't think you necessarily have to be 6th, 5th, 4th per se, but I think we're missing out. And what would change that is it's just a few of those top 5 guys just stay committed. It's just like,
yeah.
I'm not going to say there's no fault to go to Notre Dame's way. I'm not there, though. I don't know. But I think this has more to do with the Wild West system that probably is a little bit in the next couple of years. I do think there is going to be some
regression to normalcy.
Organization of college football. I think there's going to be more of a centralized organization of college football on its way. However that manifests. That, John, I wouldn't be a bit. I'm going to absolutely cap it off with this, and this is my last random thought. I would not be surprised at all if Notre Dame spurns both the Big Ten and the SEC and decides that there's a three-headed monster of the Big 12, the ACC, and Notre Dame that joins into that instead in the next couple of years. That's going to be my bold prediction.
Interesting.
That's my bold prediction. Notre Dame is going to team up with the ACC and Big 12 to make a third big conference.
Wow.
In the coming years. If they do join a conference, if that does happen, that's how it's going to go down in my prediction.
There you go.
A lot of thoughts.
Breaking news. All right. Good job. Those are a lot of thoughts. It's good to touch base with you. And remember to show me your thighs at the tailgate, okay?
And, John, I got my ticket to the game just yesterday, so it's all set. Be there on the 21st.
Beautiful. Appreciate that. If you're there the night before in town, we're having a little get-together at the house. You could come by.
Yeah, I'm going to come on the 20th for sure.
There you go.
I'm going to come on the 20th
There you
sure.
go. All right. I'll talk to you, Rodney.
Man, have a good one.
Yep. It looks like Pat just came in right when I said to show me your thighs. Pat, it's an interesting conversation you missed, buddy. It's not as weird as it's sun's out, thighs out. It's not as weird of a conversation as you might think. Dude, some of you guys are getting really picky in the chat. It's literally a riot. I go live like 10 or 12 hours a week. I am live on this channel talking about football and whatever. 2 minutes of golf talk, and you got people, I thought this was a football channel. What are you doing? Get back to the football. Bro, I talk football like 12 hours a week. We could talk 2 minutes about golf. You'll get through it. I promise. I promise. And every time Kelly comes up, we're still talking about Kelly. When something relevant about football that involves him comes up, I'm not afraid to talk about it. I don't have a big problem with that. It's not a big deal. I'm not spending 2 hours talking about Swamp Thing. But if something comes up that relates to him, it's not a sin to bring it up. My word. Seriously, you guys come program my show for 12 hours a week. And you send me the topics and the list you want them so I can make sure I don't talk about one thing that you don't want to hear about in a 12-hour span. Give me a break. Oh, boy. Anyways, that recruiting thing, I don't know. This bugs me too. This bugs me too. The proximity for Deuce to home seemed to be a factor late. ND has gotten stung by this 5-star stuff with every coach. Let Freeman get his chance. Here's what bothers me about this. 618, you're coming up. What bothers me about this is the proximity has always been the proximity. That is what has bothered me, man. Pat says, you don't even program your own show. You never get through your topics. You go off on rants arguing with the chats. It's a very good point. You know how many really nice outlines I've created for these programs that I never even get to? But I get the peer pressure, and then I want to go to the callers, and then 2 hours goes, and I haven't gone over any of my notes that I wanted to go over for the show. That's what I don't understand about the argument about the proximity from home for Deuce. Did that just occur to him? Those 8 trips to Notre Dame, it didn't occur to him, man, this is a long way from home. That's what I don't understand. It's like, oh, the proximity from home is a big deal or whatever. Well, what? It wasn't for those 6 trips to campus? We just now realize it's kind of far from the Mississippi to South Bend or what? That's not something that you just happen to wake up and realize it's really far from home. Johnny's 17 years old and his parents are the biggest drivers of the flip. 17-year-olds get cold feet. Well, then maybe the 17-year-old's parents need to be a little bit more mature and look at the long-term outcomes here and not the immediate one that makes everybody most comfortable. That's a parent's job. Look at the long term. And I'll take the argument that Deuce going to Notre Dame would be better for him long term than whatever happens in Cam Newton's footsteps. And it's like, well, Cam Newton. It's Cam Newton. Don't you want to be the next Cam Newton? You know what would be better than being the next Cam Newton? Being the first Deuce Knight at Notre Dame. That would be better than being the next Cam Newton, is being the first Deuce Knight doing it at Notre Dame. If you could get that to work, you could eat off that for the rest of your life if you could get that to work. So I'd rather be the first something than the next somebody. But that's just me. What do I know? What do I know? I don't know nothing. Maybe more blue chips want a new golf course near South Bend. Get out there on that Warren course. Ooh, baby, that's nice. Warren course, right across the road from when I stay at that Leahy house I always talk about. Right across the road is one of the holes there on the Warren course. 618, let's make it great. First, 574 and a 405 are coming up after that. 618, what's going down?
Good morning, John. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. We're, I think, 19 days out from Notre Dame football. Everybody's wound a little tight, and you're trying to figure out, what's going to happen with the recruiting. You're trying to figure out what Notre Dame team are you going to get at Texas A&M. What do you make of this, my friend? We can go wherever you want to go.
Well, the more I think about it, I mean, it's hard to say. You really don't know what you're getting at Texas A&M. It's not a given, but you're pretty sure that your defense is going to show up. Al Golden has put together a really great defensive side of the football.
Yeah.
And we've seen Denbrock in the past. Now we've seen him with different players. Yes.
Dude, don't you wait, time
out.
out. That defense must show up. They must be ready. They have proven they're a really solid unit. You're in year 3 of Al Golden's system. You have a blend of older proven players at each level and then younger athletic guys to mix in with them. Like this should be, that defense should take a step from really, really good into like borderline elite or elite. I think that it's possible to do that on defense. And you need to carry the night week 1 before we figure out what this offense could do in that O-line and everything. You don't have a choice. That defense has got to deliver night 1, my friend.
Well, and I've been watching for a while, and we keep talking about how much speed Notre Dame has. Jeremiah Love, extremely fast. Jadarian Price, get burners. Chris Mitchell comes in from the transfer portal. Supposedly he's a burner. I think you can cover up some of those O-line deficiencies with your speed. If you can hold off long enough for them to get by or run screen passes or get downfield, or Riley Leonard doing it with his legs, you can cover that up while we figure out what we've got.
Yeah.
You just, the one thing I do not want to see on the 31st is, I don't know, you never know how the coin toss is going to go, but let's say A&M wins the coin toss, takes the ball, marches right down the field, scores a touchdown, and then we go on offense, boom, 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 3 and out, we're punting again. I mentally cannot handle that, watching us dig us a hole on the road in a loud environment where we already know they're crazy, go out and punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, it's
like the road Ohio State game. The first play was a pass to, I think it was, oh man, what was his name? Styles, for like 40-something yards on the road at Ohio State 2 years ago.
Oh man, remember when he was going to be the next thing? Oh, he's going to be the next go-to guys for Notre Dame, and now he's over there playing defense, I believe, at Ohio State. But dude, I'm in my own head because I'm trying to picture this game playing out, and I'm just not sure what direction it's going to go. Like sometimes you just kind of can vision in your mind how you think something's going to play out. And I'm just not quite sure what to expect here. And some of it is Notre Dame, but a lot of it is just, I don't think anybody knows what they're going to get out of A&M in this moment, right out of the gate, week 1. I know there's going to be a lot of energy whenever you have that new coach turnover, and you're going to have that new energy of like hope and everything's new and exciting, and you're at home. Everybody's excited for the first game. There's going to be that energy rush to begin the game. And then once things settle down a little bit, I am just not sure what I'm going to get out of Texas A&M. I just have no idea how put together or not they're going to be right away. And that is a big moving factor for me. I don't know how to calculate. I don't know what to expect. And I don't think maybe even Elko knows what to expect.
I don't think he does either, but I think I can tell you for sure that he knows if he somehow pulls out a win at home in his first game against Notre Dame, it's massive.
Yeah.
It is massive for him.
I'm telling you, I don't care. I don't care if you want to, give them the advantage for being at home and they're the favorite in Vegas or whatever you want to tell me. Whatever you want to tell me, you want to tell me. Year 3, game 1, you need to be more put together than a team in year 1, game 1. And if you're not, that is a big red flag for me. And that is also on the bingo card. Year 1, game 1 versus year 3, game 1. Grandma got another bingo at the VFW. That is, to me, you got it. If you don't have your program more put together, ready to go in year 3, game 1, than a guy in week 1, year 1, I don't know, game 1, I don't know what to tell you. You ain't doing something right. You're not doing a lot of things right. You need to come in there poised, like you know what you're doing. People are giving me a hard time about the defense being mostly veteran. I'm talking about like KVA's a younger guy. Schuler, talking about him making a rise as a young guy. if you're going to rotate that defensive front, Anye and Traore or more younger guys? Like, do you count Osbury as an older guy? Sneed is like getting up there in classes, but not experienced. All of those guys are the ones I'm talking about, mixing in with your frontline players to be adding some of this excitement. That's kind of what I'm talking about, Andrew, and the people giving me a hard time with saying we have some younger guys. All of those guys are going to have these little niche roles. Those are the guys I'm picturing when I'm talking about those added guys to this situation. That's where my mind's going. Sorry, caller, back to you.
Well, and you're exactly right, because on the other hand is Freeman going to have the guts if an older kid is not playing well, not doing his job, not performing? Are you going to be willing to yank him out of the game and put one of those younger guys in?
Yeah.
I understand they're young. What happens when you're 18 years old and you get in an environment like that? I'm sure your adrenaline is pumping.
Yep.
But one of those young kids may get out there with that adrenaline and come up with one of the biggest plays in the game.
Yep.
Or you're scared because you don't want to put him out there.
And you're right. And then, I keep thinking about this offensive line, that left side of it. And it's a big fact. It's a big thing everybody's talking about with Notre Dame, obviously, in a big time matchup over there. Here's the thing, man. I keep coming back to this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. Like, literally, it doesn't have to be perfect over there to start the year, but it has to be good enough, which means you need to avoid a catastrophe. It can't just be an Olay free-for-all, free running at Riley Leonard's blind side to go after that ankle or knock his brain loose. It can't be any catastrophic mistakes. And if you need to chip to be careful, whatever. I don't love it, but if you have to, you have to. It doesn't have to be great. It just needs to be good enough, and you can't have any catastrophic mistakes. Can they at least get enough out of that left side to make it doable? And then you grow from there. That line, whatever iteration is going to be out there, week 1 is going to be a lot better 7 or 8 games from now. You just got to kind of survive this moment without any catastrophes and then develop after that.
Exactly, because I'm in your mindset. I don't care if you win by 1 or you win by 30. Just win this game, and then you have time to get it together.
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
Northern Illinois, Purdue, Miami.
Yes. That's how I see
time
it.
To come together.
That's how I see it too. You need to scrape and claw and fight your way to get this win, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it feels like, no matter how frustrating or whatever. You need that in the barrel with the win, get in the clubhouse, and then you can kind of reset things. And then when your next bigger game comes out and it's Louisville or whatever on the Peacock Network, you're going to be, that line should be in a better position to be able to do what they need to do. I cannot reiterate enough how big of a moment this one result is. It is the difference between Notre Dame having the inside track to host a playoff game, and the other side of it is, if you lose one more game, you're probably out of the playoffs and the whole year is ruined. And now we have to have a bigger Marcus Freeman discussion about where this is all headed. I am not exaggerating. That's what's on the line. Inside playoff track at home for Notre Dame versus you lose one more game, you're probably out of the playoff, and everybody's questioning if Freeman's the guy, and that ain't going to help recruiting any either. That's what's on the line here. I'm not exaggerating because that's just what John does. That's what's on the line. It's truly that serious of a situation.
No, and I'm glad you bring that up, because that was actually, I was listening earlier, and that was the reason I called in, is you were talking about how your articles and your team's articles about recruiting are like, what does he know what he's doing? Why do we keep losing these big recruits? This, on and on and on. And the national media is like, well, I think he's doing a great job. Look where you are compared to where you were, and so on and so forth. And I think part of that is because us as Notre Dame fans hold them to such a higher standard. We, 10th is not where we want to be every year. Every summer, coming into fall camp, it's national championship or bust.
Yeah. It's
every year,
man. Yeah, this is it's really interesting. And, the other discussion, I think I highlighted the chats earlier, was people were talking about, when Notre Dame has a schedule like this one, which isn't, I think even most Notre Dame fans would admit it's not the toughest schedule in the world. It's certainly not as voracious as the two were in the two previous years as far as tough games and big names on the big names that you respect that are really good right now on the schedule. How is this new committee going to look at a 10-2 Notre Dame versus a 9-3 Big Ten or SEC school that maybe plays more good teams and had another loss compared to Notre Dame? But how are they going to actually start valuing the strength of the schedule and the record in a way they didn't in the 4-teamer? I felt like they talked about it a lot in the 4-teamer, but they ultimately deferred how many losses you have at the end of it. Like, are they going to be serious about that? Where does that? I'm telling you, 11-1, 12-0 Notre Dame's the only way to guarantee you're in this thing. Gotta have it, need it, gotta have it.
Absolutely. And yes, I mean, for my lifetime, I'll be 32 next week. It seems like if we're teetering on the edge, they've given us the in because Notre Dame is such a draw. Notre Dame draws people. Notre Dame draws TV ratings. Notre Dame draws money. Notre Dame is money to them.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to be in the middle of January sitting on the edge of my couch saying, God, we lost to Texas A&M and Florida State or Louisville or, whoever. Man, that's our two biggest games. And look, we beat Miami, Ohio 63-7. God,
yeah,
I
exactly.
Sure hope that gets us in.
Dude, you're right. Because you're really, really right. Play this out. If you went 10-2 and it was A&M and Florida State, here's the issue with that. Yeah, I don't know how good Louisville is going to be what that's going to count for you. And the other problem with this is I genuinely think USC is going to have a boatload of losses by the time we play them to end the year. I think they could have four losses, maybe 5. I think they're going to have a rough run. No Caleb transitioning into the Big Ten. If they got even 3 or 4 losses and then you beat them in LA to end the year, how much credit are you going to get for that, even in a rivalry game? But if you're beating them when they have 3 or 4 losses or something, that isn't going to move the needle that much. It's going to be a big win to us because it's USC, but naturally you're not going to get a lot of credit for that. That's where that 10-2 hurts you. What's really interesting is what if it's another dumb game you lose? What if you beat these marquee ones we're thinking of and then you lose some dumb game? That would be interesting to see how the committee looks at it, but at least you'd have a couple of high-end wins on the good side. So you would have that.
Well, and on the same token, I know Texas A&M will probably be ranked to enter the season. I think the polls have already come out. I think they're somewhere in the 20s.
Hey, wait, isn't the AP poll coming out today? I believe I saw on Twitter that it gets released sometime today. It'll be really, really interesting to see. I think Notre Dame was 7th in the coaches poll. And I'm pretty sure I read that sometime today, the AP comes out, and it'll be very, very interesting to see where we land. And the reality of that is wherever we land, don't get used to it because you're either probably going to move up or you're going to drop like a rock depending on what happens in 19 days. You're going to make a move, one or the other.
Well, and on top of that, I'm sorry, I'm pulling something up real quick. So Texas A&M plays LSU. I'm trying to see. I apologize, John.
Oh, that's okay.
Texas, South Carolina, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri is supposed to be pretty good. So even a win over them, even if they win, they don't play most of the powerhouses. They don't play Alabama. They don't play Georgia. They don't play Ole Miss. They don't play Tennessee this year. They might be 9-3, but at the same token, how does their strength of schedule look? If you lose to Notre Dame, Missouri, and LSU and Texas, so we'll say 8-4, well, they haven't beaten anybody either.
Yeah. Man, all right. This is a good way to wrap this up into a nice little bow here. This is the grand experiment this year, expanding into this new format with way more teams and everything going on. This is the first grand experiment of how this is all going to go. And I don't know how it's going to go. And I don't know how it's all going to shake out, be dominated by the SEC and the Big Ten or whatever. I don't know how this is all going to go, but I do know this. However it goes, I need Notre Dame to be a part of it the first time. I've mentioned it before how important it is to plant your flag in this new system. Let everybody know Notre Dame's here to stay and you're here to play. And you need to be in it the first time and be a part of it, and people get used to that. But this is the grand experiment. There's no data yet. Nobody knows how this is going to go.
No, and on top, and I think I'd even take that a step further. Notre Dame needs to be a part of it, and they need to host their first game. Because back when this was created, Swarbrick agreed to the deal that Notre Dame could never be higher than a 5 seed because they're not in a conference. Okay, fine. We'll live with it. It is what it is. Notre Dame needs to be in, and they need to make an SEC or a Big Ten, preferably, somebody that comes from the South, come to South Bend in the middle of December and play when it's 12 degrees outside with a wind chill of -10.
That's what I want. That's what I want, and that's what I need. That would be the Christmas gift we all want under our tree, is a Notre Dame home playoff game. Hey, man, I really, really appreciate you giving me a call, spending time on a Monday. You're thinking about Notre Dame. Give me a call back soon, my friend. Good call. Thank you.
Thanks, John. See you at the tailgate.
Beautiful. Love it. Oh, I love to hear the people coming to the tailgate. 574 and 405 coming up next. I don't know what you guys are talking about. You're going off the rails. I couldn't keep up with all the chat. Here's something else we all need to think about as Notre Dame people. It's been in my mind. Think about this. The difference between Notre Dame getting one of those top seeds hosting that round 1 game. The difference between that and making the playoff as a lower level seed and Notre Dame having to go on the road for the first game is so vast. You can't even wrap your mind around it. Like, you're talking about the difference of hosting a group of 5 team at Notre Dame Stadium in the cold. Then if you win that, it isn't, see, that's the thing. It's not just about the round 1 game, you guys. If you win that one against the group of 5 team, probably, then you host like a Utah or something like that. You're likely not going to host the top end seeds from the SEC and the Big Ten. Wouldn't you rather play a Utah type team or something from the Big 12, not that SEC, the top echelon getting into the SEC or the Big Ten? That's a big deal to me. It isn't just about the round 1 matchup. It's about what comes next if you get through the round 1 matchup. So I think Notre Dame wants to find a way to be able to avoid having to play the top end of the SEC or the Big Ten until the later rounds. The only way to guarantee you do that is to host that playoff game against the group of 5. And then you're hosting the non-top team out of the Big Ten or the SEC. So 11-1, 12-0. 11-1, 12-0. That's the answer. It's the only answer. So I don't know. And then also, don't forget this. We're going to the 574 next. Don't forget this as well, people. Don't forget for a second. Do you all remember? I wrote an article about this for Sports Illustrated. Oh, nice time for the introduction. An hour and 13 minutes in. I'll skip all of it other than Google Notre Dame Sports Illustrated. Read all about it. How about that? There you go. There's a good promo. Here's a good promo. Don't forget this, you guys. Do not forget for a hot second. The director of the new expanded playoff 12-team format, who is it? You think about, man, what a big obligation. Okay, around noon, the AP poll comes out. What a big obligation. What a big role it is. What an important job to be in charge of the new playoff committee as we get into this expanded thing and all the money that's on the line and in play here, right? And you would think to yourself, this is a major job. You need to have somebody with integrity, respect around the country, a squeaky clean record on their resume to oversee all this, because it's important that the public can trust the guy that's running this new operation. Oh, I'm just kidding. It's Michigan to AD. Just kidding. It's Michigan's athletic director who got promoted to this job while at the buffet, no doubt, got promoted to this job in the middle of him overseeing and whitewashing multiple national football scandals. That's the guy. You went to him at the buffet and said, do you want to lead this whole group? And he said, sure. It's unbelievable, man. No one involved in this thought for a second. What kind of message are we sending that we're promoting a guy overseeing, trying to cover up multiple national football scandals? We're promoting that guy to be in charge of this new thing. No one there in this whole group had the moral capacity to say, put their arm up and go, wait a second now. What kind of message are we sending here that we have a guy that's embroiled in all these scandals and he's not even trying to find the answers to them? He's just blindly supporting the team, whether they did wrong or not. Do we really want that guy in charge of all this? What kind of moral look is that? Nobody cares, apparently. It offends my football and moral sensibilities that is the guy that they put in charge of all this. It's quite unbelievable and stunning to me. Unbelievable. 574, give me some more. What's going on?
Well, I'm in a happier mood than you, apparently.
You know what, though? Let's be honest. It doesn't take much to set me off. I'll be laughing about something again in 1 minute. It's like I'm like like an animal in a way where like I just look for the next bright thing. And like one time it'll make me mad. 2 minutes later, it'll make me laugh. Like I'm always bouncing around, my friend. Don't let me bring you down on a Monday. Notre Dame's going to have a good team this year.
No.
Notre Dame's going to have a good team this year. Damn it. Right? Right? Well, like, right? Come on, help me out here.
If practice works on the field in front of 100,000 people, then yes, we will.
Gosh, you know what's interesting about that? Right away, your first sentence brings this up to me. Goolsby brought this up on the Patreon last week. I was talking about preparing for the heat and the noise. And Goolsby said, you can blast your music and do all that, John, if you want, make the guys sweat. But he said, John, nothing can replicate what that energy is going to be in that building. He said, there's nothing you can do in any practice environment or anything that prepares you as a team and as an individual player for that moment where you are out there in front of 110,000 people or whatever, and that energy that's going to be in that building. Nothing prepares you for that moment. And the question then becomes is, how do you and your teammates react to that energy? Do you feed off it in your own way and take the heart out of those the home crowd? Do you yank their energy out of them by making plays, or do you crumble because you feel that momentum's on their side and you're scared to put yourself out there and make plays? That's where it comes down to it. Who's going to be a man and make plays in that Texas heat?
Mostly with guys that have experience, because a lot of those guys played in the shoe. A lot of guys played in the atmosphere at Clemson last year, Notre Dame's Ohio State last year. It all comes down to experience. What have you already worked through already before going to A&M?
Yeah. Okay. Now let me bring this up. This is a really interesting question, my friend. You led me there again. You're doing good here. You're 2 for 2. On the defensive side of the football for Notre Dame, we've already mentioned some of those older guys that are proven. You have proven guys there that I trust on each level of that defense in the front, the middle, and the back end. I want to ask you this, though. Who are the natural leaders on the offensive side of the ball for Notre Dame? Is it Tom Frowley? Good to see you, man. I hope your health is doing well. It's good to have you here, buddy. Let's talk some business soon. Who are you confident is going to be the offensive leaders there, man? Like who do you trust? Who is it? Like, I just don't, it's not as easy for me to decipher that on the offense as it is the defense. What do you think?
So at this current moment, I think the current leader on the offense is probably Leonard. because if you look at all the sideline interviews from the other players, everybody talks about him. Same with Sam Hartman last year.
Now listen,
guy had a personality of a lion and just basically everybody loved him.
But don't you admit that's a little interesting that the leader of the Notre Dame offense is a guy who's been here for like 6 months and just came in the door? Like, that alone is an interesting dynamic to me. That is not like, hey, I'm Joe Montana and I was 5th on the depth chart and I waited my time and all that and I did all the. It's a little unique. I'm not saying it's wrong. The quarterback should be and will always be a captain to some extent because of the importance of the position. But I do think it's interesting when we say that'll be one of the leaders and it's a guy who just kind of popped in the door. I think that's very interesting. And then what about that offensive line? Who's the leader on the offensive line? You don't have your Joe Alt there leading by example quietly or whatever. Who is it? Like who's the guy grabbing the horns of that unit?
Well, that's the problem is that they're all young except the one that just had to be the new left tackle replacement. Yeah. He's a grad.
Yeah.
So, but that's a tough one. Honestly, I don't even have an answer for that one.
People are saying Mitch Evans. People are saying Mitch Evans, and I agree with that. And that's a guy who's been around. It's a guy who's put up big time numbers. You know, he's a great player. I'm fine with Mitch Evans being the leader. And then if he could be the leader and have some of that be like leader of the, let's call it the pass catching unit, wrap the wide receivers in there too, then maybe he helps lead that group because that's another one at the wide receiver who's the natural leader there. Is it a guy like Greathouse who's a natural, only a year or two young guy and he's the leader? I just have questions on offense. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. It's the person who always has the personality, the drive to be a leader, and the one who creates leaders when he leaves.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question: do you hear highlights of Chris Mitchell, Bo Collins, and Greathouse in practices when you hear reports? When's the last time you heard anything complimented about Michael Thomas?
Man, I just
or Jaden Thomas.
Yeah, Jaden. You got to be on the field. You got to be on the field. Like that's the problem with that. That's somebody saying Coogan. That the other reporters are saying Coogan, is he even going to win that job? It's hard for me to have a leader who's not even out there the whole time playing out there. That's tough. So I don't know, man. I just have questions on that offense. If it's Riley Leonard, that's lovely. If he's got the natural leadership ability and people follow him, then I have no problem. He's not a long-term Notre Dame guy. Whatever. I'm totally fine with that. It's just interesting to me. I don't have as many of those natural names that come to my mind on the offense as I do defense. So I don't know. Whatever.
No, that's perfectly normal. But here's the thing: is a lot of people are bringing up the first game and like how we're going to handle the atmosphere. I have not heard one person talk to me about is the changes to now having having a headset in the helmets going to be better for us this year than having, signals and knowing what the play is?
Well, okay, here's one way to think about it. Home games are your home games, right? Fine. Nope. Think about it this way. Notre Dame goes into all these road games, and it's like the Super Bowl everywhere we go. Everywhere we go where we're the visitor, it is the Super Bowl, sold out, capacity. Everybody wants to see your team beat Notre Dame. It's a big deal. It's going to be loud in all those environments. So don't you have to say, like, you would think it would help Notre Dame because it could maybe eliminate some of that problem of not being able to hear the snap count and we need the play call, and then we're blowing all of our timeouts because nobody hears anything. Like, doesn't that help Notre Dame because everywhere we go, it's the Super Bowl and it's loud?
Yeah, no, that's fair. But we also carry that, on our shoulders every year. It doesn't matter like if this is Texas A&M or if it's Louisville. This would bring up the same kind of numbers for people wanting to fit into a crowded stadium just to see us play.
Yeah.
Nothing new.
Yeah, but that is a really, really interesting part of this. And I believe it turns off with 15 seconds left on the play clock. So anything after that, the quarterback and the lineman coordinate whatever. But it turns off with 15 seconds. I would just like to think when all these environments are going to be chaotic and loud, I would have to think it would have to help a little bit to be able to have that advantage. So I don't know. People are saying it looks like it's going to be like 100 degrees on the extended forecast for College Station. It's going to be a hot one. And it cooled down in Illinois and Indiana. That humidity's gone and it feels like early fall. I hope our guys are not getting too used to this because it is very pleasant in Illinois and Indiana right now. And it ain't going to be when you go down. I don't want them getting used to the weather now. It's too nice. Too nice.
No, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, is there even a protocol to have us, down there a certain amount of time to be ready? I'm pretty sure there is.
Now you're bringing. Oh, look at you! Now you're bringing up something else on John's list. Struggles on the road. Think about it, man. Notre Dame started slow on the road last year a lot. Even in the road games, Notre Dame won. A lot of them featured slow starts. I don't love it. And when you go into these hostile road environments, you cannot afford to blow a quarter and a half to wake up or knock off the jet lag or calm the crowd down or whatever. Notre Dame's got to do a much better job of being prepared to play road games right from the kick.
So I have an argument against this.
Okay.
I think, look at our last two OCs. Have they ever shown that they are ready to score in the first drive? No. Tommy says the real game starts in the second and third quarter. Gerald Parker's like, I'll let the defense get the interception in our side of the field.
Wait, but dude, going back to, maybe I'm misremembering this. You could correct me. 405, you're coming up next, by the way. Hang with me. Correct me if I'm wrong for misremembering this, but I seem to remember like Kelly era teams taking the ball and on those scripted like dozen plays right out of the gate, doing well and putting points on the board, and then having trouble doing anything else after that. Like I kind of remembered like that being the case where they would take the ball, go right down the field, and then like not do it again for 2.5 quarters or something. It was something about like the pre-planned calls to open the game worked and then nothing else did. But you are right. How does Denbrock approach that on Notre Dame's first couple series? Are you conservative or do you try and get aggressive? This is all new territory with Denbrock. I don't know what I'm going to get, and I'm going to be on the edge of my seat to see.
Well, you don't want to. So when it comes, I've been told by a lot of people who do coaching that when it's a hot environment, you never want to come out of the gate swinging because you don't want to tire your guys out later in the game.
Yeah,
because the humidity and heat together, especially in a hot outside environment, if you're playing for 2.5 hours, it can get really bad. So conserving energy by just like either doing short, easy passes or even just running the ball like probably 20 or 30 times, that's a good conservative way to make sure if you need to make a last minute touchdown in the fourth quarter, you have the stamina and energy to do it.
Here's something else with that. I'm glad you brought it up. You're bringing up some really good points. Think about this too. It's going to be hot. There's a lot of energy consumed out there. Think about this. Notre Dame feels like they're going to be able to rotate like 10 guys or whatever in that defensive front. That's going to be a big deal when you're looking at 100 degrees and all that humidity and everything. And rotating isn't a big deal. Rotating without feeling like you're vulnerable or giving up. Rotate double-digit guys, keep them fresh and active and productive on that defensive front. That's a big deal to me. Number two, that wide receiver situation. How much wide receivers are running all over the field on any given play, whether they get the ball or not, how much running around they do. Now, do you actually have a rotation with those receivers where you could give guys a rest and give them a blow and let them take a little break? I think those are kind of things where the depth is going to matter when you go to A&M, and I'm looking at both of those position groups right away.
I do feel happy knowing that a lot of the receiver groups are either from the South or they did play last year in the South. Bo in North Carolina, Chris in FIU, Florida, and Greathouse grew up in Texas. So you have people in the room that know what it feels like to be in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So not too much worry about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And again, I'm going to default to this, man. We expect a lot out of Notre Dame's defense, justifiably so, because of what they've been and what they've done and the personnel. And that now it's year 3. I need it to be the best yet of the Al Golden era, and I need you to get after it. And there's no time like week 1. I don't know what we're going to get out of Notre Dame's offense. I need that defense to be ready to make game-winning, game-changing plays right away. I need it. I don't want it. I need it.
Well, good news is that well, not good news. It's always bad to hear about a player getting hurt. Is Texas A&M's running back, their starting running back, actually might miss the game. So
no, I didn't think he was the starter. I didn't think he was the starter. I thought from what I read from the articles, it seemed like there was a little bit of a 1-2 rotation, and he may be like the second guy, but they're saying it's a big deal. And I believe he was a 5-star recruit, Reuben Owens. So I the way I read it, it seemed like he was maybe rotating there. Like I didn't get the feeling he was the lead head back, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't done I don't know.
So from what I understand, he was getting first reps because he was actually exceeding pretty well in practice. And then he got that lower body injury the weekend.
All right.
I didn't hear anything now, but they were supposed to do an MRI today.
Yeah.
But a lot of experts are saying he more than likely is going to miss the first game.
Gotcha. Yep. And so, I mean, hey, everybody gets a little beat up in camp. That's just the way it goes. So Notre Dame had their big knock, and now maybe they have one there. Yeah, Bob Albee brings up a good point. Tackling always seems to be an issue in game 1 as well. There's a lot of missing yards there that are unaccounted for when you're missing tackles. Top of my mind, Notre Dame was 37th last year, according to PFF, in missed tackle rate. Notre Dame averaged 8.2 missed tackles per game. The top end teams were Michigan and Georgia, right around 5.96 a game. That's how the spread is. 8 missed tackles a game. That's a little too many for me to like from Notre Dame's defense, even as skilled and as good as they are. I don't like it.
Well, we'll just have to see. I mean, look at the team. A lot of experience on there. So hopefully that's going to be a huge bump. Also, the recruits that we also got with Kingston and Sneed, finally Bowen. These are guys that are going to be studs on the field. Like I am so excited to see this linebacker core actually be good again.
And here's the question. How early and how often do you see KVA out there? That's what I want to know. Like how, with his skill set physically and being mentally able to handle the load right away, I'm wondering how they're going to initiate this and ease him in, because it's a little busy there with all the bodies and linebacker and what they're going to do. And I got a feeling once you get him out there and he's going, you can't go back because he's just going to be that good. So I'm wondering how that all gets started, and how much of him do you see in a big game moment against A&M opening up down there? How often is he out there? I don't know what to expect for that either. I don't know. I'm a little biased, but if I were the coaching staff, if he shows flashes, especially now, I'd keep him out there because next year and his junior year he's going to be a star. Yeah. If he gets the experience now. Yeah, he's a unique prospect, mentally and physically ready to go. It's going to be interesting. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for the call on a Monday. You brought up a lot of good stuff that got me going. Good job. So one of the things I want to bring up right now is, everybody wants to be an expert in recruiting. Here's one take I want everybody to remember real quick is when you tell a recruit and when they're coming to, to see your team and see what, opportunities there are, even if you get this huge NIL deal opportunity, if they tell you, well, we have this coming in 2 years. And then when you're a junior or a sophomore, these facilities or things will be available to you. If you're a recruit, do you agree to yeah, I'll take that, or I believe you, or are you taking it, I want it now though? Yeah, it's tough. That's very, very tough. Because here's my point. We have been told since spring, we have this new locker room facility, new weight room, everything. Everything's supposed to be up to date, probably the best in the country when it comes to college athletics. And we are telling recruits this will be made
fully in 2 years. Problem. You can tell them all that you want, but until they see it, they're not stay committed.
I thought you were going way more with the money route with that, not a building where they lift weights. I thought you were going with.
I'm leading to that.
Yeah, like we got some NIL for you if you do the right things and your grades are good and you're a good person and you do this volunteer work. That in 2 years we're going to have this money for you. Versus if you just come here, you're going to get all this money. Those are very different things.
Well, I'm leading to that as well, because you tell them this, but they don't see it. You also tell them these NIL opportunities. You tell them people who got these opportunities, like Sam Hartman and Michael Mayer and Kyle Hamilton, hearing stories of, what were they able to do in Notre Dame? That's great. But they don't see it now. They're getting told from other places, we'll give you this much money right now. Here it is. Here's the people that want to sponsor you. That's all you have to say yes. Yeah. Oh, and here's our facilities with all these bright lights and cool lockers, up to date, clothing and everything else. Here's what your locker will be.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's the problem I have with people who don't understand, well, these players need to be stay committed and you can't let them leave. And why are they leaving? Are you not offering them more money? It's like, that's not the issue. The issue is kids today need to see things now. And we can't show them these things yet.
Yeah, it's a changing world, man. It's a changing world. And so I don't know. It's going to be really, really interesting. There's a lot on the line here for recruiting. There's a lot on the line for the on-the-field product. The good news is we're 19 days away from starting to get answers. Thank you for the call and the thoughtful notes on a Monday, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Have a good one. My man had a checklist. He making a list. He checking it twice. Talking about Notre Dame, naughty or nice. I just made that up. I don't know what I'm talking about. 405. Let's make it come alive. It's a Monday. Give me a break. What's going on, 405?
Not much, John. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Listen, we're 19 days out. Everybody's in their own mind about everything. The big picture, the small picture, the on the field, the off the field, the recruiting. It's all over. Everybody's mind is everywhere. And I'd love to know where yours is at on a fine Monday.
Thank you, sir. So regarding NIL, there's a lot of...
Wait, time out, please. NIL. One time out. Dr. John says, heading into surgery in Bozeman, behave yourselves. Dr. John, God be with you. I'll say a prayer for you, thinking about you getting in and out of surgery in one piece so you could be at the tailgate here in a few weeks. So God bless you. Good luck on the surgery. Sorry, 405, but I thought that was important.
Oh, you're fine, man. I was just going to say that I just want to talk about some of the misconceptions about NIL, which is, in my opinion, really destructive for the sport. I'm a huge fan and supporter of Notre Dame because of the academics, the history, tradition, Newt Rockne, Lou Holtz, the great era. And let's be honest, Rudy is in all of our minds. We all love Rudy. But name and likeness is not what is being done right now. It's pay for play. Name, image, and likeness is a legal concept used to prevent or allow the use of an individual to promote a product or service, right?
Yep.
So a person, I see that, a person comes in and gives somebody, money for them to wear a shirt or publicly endorse something. This is all according to an article on the NCAA website called What is Nil? NCAA Rule Explained. It's not collective. It's not pay for play. It's not charity work. Charity, when you get money for it, is not charity. Okay. And it's maddening when people say it's charity work. It's just not. And that's what collectives are providing. They're providing money in the form of a collective. It's a contract to kids that attend a specific university. It's booster clubs masquerading as collectives. And what really frustrates me is the money that they get, because the majority of them are 501c3 nonprofits. That money that is typically generating revenue for a state is going into a pocket of a student athlete. It's extremely frustrating as a citizen of a state, because that revenue should be going to state services like school, education, roads, etc. Now there was a Supreme Court ruling indicating recently that they're not supposed to be nonprofits, but if you go to the website of any of the collectives for these for respective universities, they're still listed as 501c3. So it's not being abided by yet until there is a remedy for it decided by the courts, most likely. So collectives they're not nil either. Okay. And these collectives are being used to give student athletes money who have very little, if not no NIL value, period. Okay. I'm a fan of Notre Dame, like I said, because of the university, the history, tradition, all those things. It has nothing to do with specific players. And if a specific player has the ability to make a true NIL from an entity not associated from a university, I am all for that. But that's not what's happening now. And it's extremely disruptive to both revenue of states, where they're providing services to citizens, but it's also having a huge negative impact on the schools themselves, because that money, the booster money, or private donations that was typically given to the school, is now given to a collective where they can dispense that money as they see fit, not the school. So the school has lost revenue from boosters or from and you guys can, if anybody knows any fundraisers for school, you can ask them and they'll tell you, when NIL went into play, we lost revenue. We lost donations coming to the university. So the school is being handicapped as well. They're also being defunded.
All right, now let me ask this. Let me ask this. I'm thinking about all this, and it makes me want to ask, how is that NCAA ruling that went through the courts, how is that going to change all of this process? In a couple years, I believe it was 25, is when that kicks in, that all those payments have to go out to the players automatically. Like, they're not calling it salaries, but I don't know what else to call it when every scholarship guy on your team gets a check for the same amount for that work or whatever. How is that going to impact this? Because it's like 20 or 30 million a year. Every team's got to divide out and pay by that court ruling to even be engaged in the high level D1 football process. How do you think that's going to blend into all this? You're going to have all of this and then the collective and the pay for play on top of it. Is that how this is going to go?
Well, it's all pay for play. Pay for play is simply the concept of you come to our university and play a sport and we'll give you money. That's at its very core is what pay for play is. So when people say they're getting a salary, that's pay for play. When they're getting an NIL contract through a collective, that's pay for play.
Yeah.
NIL, where an entity comes and says, I want you to represent us, and they're not associated with the university. When the Supreme Court handed down their ruling, the reason was because the student athlete entity was selling apparel with that athlete's name. The remedy, in my opinion, universities shouldn't be selling apparel with the kid's name on it. That's what it's hurt. That should have been the remedy, but instead people went out and got collectives so that they could pay an athlete directly, which is hurting states, also hurting the sport as a whole. And what really ticks me off is people say, well, who cares? They were already getting paid in the first place. Yeah, but it was in the dark. And if they got caught, they got busted pretty badly. And I always laugh when people say the answer to a law that's not working perfectly is to get rid of the law in general. That makes no sense, and I'm not for that.
Yeah, man, it's a wild world out there. And then don't you kind of feel like this is an intellectual battle I have in my own brain. I know that's scary to think about, but don't you feel like the more this train barrels down this path, the harder it is for Notre Dame to fit into this new reality? Because it just feels like it's not Notre Dame's model to do this, the thing where it feels like more of a mini pro outfit instead of college. And it feels like we're getting further and further away from the school part of this being like being valued. And I just feel like each mile we get further away from the station here, it's harder on Notre Dame to make this all fit because it's really not in their model. This mini pro school's not important thing. I just feel that intuitively it's going to be harder for them to like shoehorn and fit in here. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll adapt better than I thought.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think there is no appetite for semi-pro football. And in its absence, there's college football. But college football fans love their teams because they either A, went to the school, or B, the history, tradition, culture of that specific university. I love Notre Dame because they hold their athletes to a higher standard from an education perspective. And I think education is extremely valuable to our society and to the enrichment of lives of a person, right? So the education piece is now being a paycheck. The education piece is lost for not for Notre Dame, but most entities, most education systems or schools are starting to move away from an education as a focus, at least, and just paying a player. And I think they're going to lose out on that tradition, that history. Like you ask previous Notre Dame players of the past at one part of NIL, they still love their school because they were entrenched in its culture and its history. And a lot of that's going to go away, if not all of it, here soon, because the kid's not going to be tied to a school after they leave because of the experience that they had, but because the paycheck that was given to them once they left.
See, this is interesting. It says, shouldn't be hard for Notre Dame. Mr. 2.0 says this. Shouldn't be hard for Notre Dame. They have the money and brand to do this. They have the money for sure, and they have the brand definitely. But that doesn't solve the problem of how to blend that with still valuing school when the other people doing this don't. Like, that's still the hard part of this is how you're going to do. How you're going to find enough elite athletes that want to go to the pros, aren't even planning on graduating college, that are going to choose to come and do the rough road of academics in Notre Dame when they're not even planning on graduating and doing all that. I just think it's hard to ask a bunch of five-star guys to want to do that when there's an easier path to their end game, the NFL, available all over the country. It's a tough ask unless you're a certain type of kid with certain type of background.
I 100% agree, and that's one of the many reasons why I'm a huge fan of Marcus Freeman, because I can't imagine what recruiting would be like in the NIL area having to at the helm.
I've thought about that too. Like, what I've thought about, it's a really good point. As frustrated as I am with certain parts of the recruiting, if you didn't have a guy as energetic as him who kind of understands the room he's in, even if it's working against him right now, Notre Dame would be so far left in the dust, you wouldn't even have any idea.
Agreed.
So I don't know, man. Anything else? Thanks for the call on hammering that out on a Monday.
Yeah, I mean, while NIL seeks to benefit student athletes, its implementation has introduced a range of negative consequences for college football. And I truly believe it's going to cause the erosion of amateurism, increase inequality, academic issue, exploitation, next disruption, team dynamic. And with that, I yield my time to the gentleman from Always Always.
Go. God, that sounds so professional. It makes me want to run for Congress just so I can ask people some tough questions. I really like when you do that. Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. And great call on a Monday. Call me again soon, okay?
Will do. Thanks, John.
Thank you. I like the sounds of that. It just sounds like those congressional hearings. With the remaining time, I'm going to yield to Senator Kennedy, and then I light somebody up for doing the wrong thing with the taxpayers' money. Oh boy. 2 more calls. 559 is going to light up the morning. And then 386 are going to be in the mix to wrap up the call-in show here. 559.
You're lined up.
Oh, good morning, baby.
Good morning, man. How's it going, John? How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. What am I hearing? I'm hearing 8 different voices. What are you doing? Are you working?
Yeah. You already know, John. You already know I'm a working man. I'm that blue collar guy that never stops working all day, every day. But,
what do you got?
What I want to call for is like what the gentleman said earlier is that is very important. That it is working against Notre Dame right now, and we are paying people not for the right reasons. That's why I said what I said the other day. I love Notre Dame for what it stands for, and we need to focus on what we are really doing as a society. And I say it's time for Notre Dame to flex their muscle because we are a global brand. We have people empowered. We have a voice that they need to change this ASAP because it's going to get out of control. Georgia has been doing it. The SEC has been doing it for years, since the 90s. And it's frustrating to see kids go to these schools and don't make it. They get that badge, and guess what? They're broke by in 2-3 years, and they're bumped out in the streets. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, and it's time that this is why I love Marcus Freeman, because his life changed drastically, similar to what I went through growing up. Unfortunately, he had an education. I didn't. I had to work my butt off and to be where I'm at today. And I'm very proud of that. My kids are proud of that. My friends are proud of me because I come from the hood. I come from a bad background that nobody believes where I'm at today. And I have made a name for myself in the industry that I'm in. But at the same time, this is why
I preach to the choir of how important the education is. And people like yourself, like, I'm so proud of you getting this. Like, and now you are able to vouch for us and say the things that fans and everybody has been advocating for such a long time, John. Where is the education? Because if you don't care about the education anymore, then shoot, let's start bringing all these fire recruits to check it out. Because we can open that bag, and you're not going to like the market that we're going to open because you're not going to be able to keep up. You know, so I'm asking the NIL and the NCAA if they're even going to be around. Because if they're not even going to be around, then move them out of the way. Let's make our own president and college football and organize it, because this is ridiculous. Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Texas. Man, I can tell you one thing. Xavier Watts is from Fresno, California. That's where I'm from. I'm from the Valley of California, where it is tough to grow up. And guess what? They gave Xavier Watts bags left and right to go anywhere, any place. He chose what he chose. Good job. Congratulations. But you know what? Don't allow us to start opening that bag, because you ain't going to like it. And you ain't going to like the players that we're going to bring, because then it's not what the culture is. And we're going to have a culture that doesn't fit certain type of criteria, unfortunately. But let's be real. We need to get this straightened out. We need to get this corrected, because we're not playing college football and amateur football no more. We are paying young kids that don't even have an idea what the money is like. And we are losing the integrity of college football, not just Notre Dame, but college football. The love that you have, the passion that you have. The reason that I love more college football today is because I love waking up every Saturday and see these kids give it all. And not like the NFL that, oh my God, you can't even touch the quarterback because, oh, it's a flag. Oh my God, it's a fine. It's ridiculous. It's not even NFL. It's exactly what it stands for. Not for long league, because it's not even football anymore.
Yeah. Man, it's going to be interesting. And I want to see Notre Dame find a way to blend both worlds, be able to hold on to our values, value the education, value the Catholicism and the all of our values. You got to find a way to be able to do it all, man. I need you to honor those values and uphold them, but still do enough to appeal and be competitive with the modern realities. It's not a comfortable marriage, but Notre Dame's got to figure out how to make it work. They've got to figure out a way to make it work. Bavacqua, the new AD, you got to figure out how to blend these worlds.
And yeah, and then not only that, but also back up our coach. We need to have Marcus Freeman, because I've seen the Bob Davie era, I've seen the Tyrone Williams era,
Woof.
I've seen the Charlie Weiss era,
Woof.
and then I saw the whole Brian Kelly, just let me bring guys that can do my job because I want to go golf, and forget about the whole recruiting portion of it. So it's like, it's time that we have the coach that we do, and let's back him up and let's give him the resource that he really needs, and not go through the embarrassment that we went through the last 2 years when he really chose the offensive coordinator, and we couldn't have our ducks in a row type of thing. And integrity and what Notre Dame stands for is why I love Notre Dame.
I think you speak for a lot of us, man. You speak for a lot of us. And the deal is, we want to win again at an elite level, but not if we have to give up all that to do it. The whole mission here is for Notre Dame to hold on to its value system and show you can win in the modern era while doing that. That is what I love. That is the mission, is holding onto our values and getting there again. That is the ultimate win for Notre Dame. And that's what motivates me to do this show, is hoping that we're able to do that. That's what it all comes down to, man. I'm with you.
Yes. And this is why I hope, Deuce Knight, I hope you're listening to this podcast right now. I really do, Deuce, because you know what? I do know where you come from, and I do know how it feels to grow up where our neighborhood is not the best. Our surroundings, our upbringing is not what it is. But at the same time, there will be a life after football, and to all football players, any player that is in college football that has that opportunity to get that education, believe me, there will be a life where football is no longer around, and there's only about 3 or 5% of all of you that will make it to the NFL. And even then, there's only like 2% that actually get that big bag and that big multi-contract NFL money. Because when that is all over with, what did you have to stand for? And what did you take advantage of? And I'm telling you, if you do not let college football be what college football is supposed to be, as education, and bring that to the forefront, then we are losing what we are standing for.
There you go, man.
Again, John.
There you go. No problem, man. That's a good monologue on a Monday, and I'm there with your messaging, man. And I want Notre Dame to uphold those values and be a lead on the field and show we can do it all again. Man, I appreciate you, 559. You were on the line Saturday, and then first thing Monday. I love you. Have a good work day, okay, brother?
You too. And then one really, really, really quick thing, John, and all of you. Value our education. And let you tell you right now, do not let Notre Dame open that bag. And all of you that try to go independently, that you cannot, because Miami couldn't hang in, Texas couldn't hang in, and the SEC knew a long time ago, we don't gang up on Notre Dame, we're not going to keep up with them. This is a proof that our independence is what it is.
Yeah.
Because we are the only one that are standing alone, and none of you can do what we can do. This is why we are Notre Dame.
Oh, I like
today.
that. Put it on a commercial. Have a good work day, 559. Thank you, sir. There he goes. A lot of energy. I like the last couple of times he's called. He's a good caller to end on because you know he's going to have a lot of energy and a statement on the way out. Man. All right, you guys. That's going to be it. Another 2-hour show. Robust. We had a lot of opinions, man, and things are heating up. Things are heating up. We're getting that pregame energy. It doesn't help that the humidity's out of the air and it's cool and it feels like it's like the beginning of October, not like August. We're getting close, you guys. 19 days. It's going to be really, really interesting. So I really want to, that guy's holier than thou attitude, talking about being from the wrong side of the tracks, not having a good, home life in a safe, neighborhood and everything. Who would have ever thought that would end up being our holier than thou guy, talking about growing up in the hood and loving Notre Dame? Who would have thought? All right, you guys. I got to thank you again. The energy's great. The calls are great. The chats, for the most part, were pretty safe today. Donations, thank you. They all go to the phone lines. Keep things going. Fill up the parking lot with beer and food for the tailgate. That's what it all goes for. Yeah, you did, Pat, with an airplane landing on your head there at Midway Airport. Unbelievable. Unbelievable trying to take a nap over at Pat's house there on the couch. You get like, you think you're in Vietnam or something. The plane's flying in over your 10 feet over Pat's house. Here they are. Does SI have an A&M counterpart? That is something we're doing. Is I'm going to have a couple A&M people on that do content and have them break down, going over, what to expect from their side. I would like to have maybe more than one A&M contributor on. So Andrew, very good point. I'm already there. And we're definitely going to do that. I'm going to get a little closer to the season, let the viewership creep up a little more. People are just starting now. A lot of the casuals are starting to come back in. If you notice, the numbers are starting to creep up a little bit on the live streams. People are starting to get out of people. Yeah, Pat. Yeah, you grew up in the hood and now you're rocking the cowboy boots, man. You've come a long way. You've come a long way. What town near Chicago? It was Midway, man. It was the Chicago Midway Airport. That's where he was from, man. Right down the road from the Huck Finn, if you must know. Right down the road. Got it. All right, everybody. That's going to be it. That's going to be it for the show. Pat's defending his Chicago-ness. Doesn't like anybody that's like, where are you from? Chicago. No, you're from Naperville. Quit saying you're from Chicago. Where are you from? Chicago. You're from Schaumburg. That ain't no Chicago. All right, you guys. I love this show. So much, man. It's so stupid that I just love it. I'm telling you what, man. I love this ecosystem. God bless you all. We'll talk to you soon.